CCTV footage has been made public in the UK. It shows a man taking a 13-year-old girl to a hotel in Bradford. You can see him hugging her. Well, he rented a room where, according to a police detective, he then raped her. This was released as a huge scandal unfolded in South Yorkshire and Greater Manchester. A net of child abusers exposed. An August report revealed that around 1,400 children were sexually exploited from 1997 to 2013 in just one city. Girls as young as 11 were raped by groups of men. The kids were doused in petrol and threatened with being set alight if they said a word about abuse. Another inquiry says only 111 cases were registered. Well, police are being accused of ignoring sex abuse reports and even trying to sweep them under the carpet. Joining me in the Now tonight is human rights activist Peter Chatchell from London. Thanks for being with us. Labour MP Anne Coffey said this has become a social norm in the northwest of England. How is that possible in the heart of Europe?
Absolutely, it is unbelievable. And I would pay tribute to Anne Coffey for producing this damning report, but I'm appalled that the relevant agencies who should have produced it, the police, the prosecution service and the Home Office, did not do so. Instead, it was down to the determination and commitment of one individual member of Parliament to bring the scale of this abuse to light. And I think that shows that the authorities in Britain really have dropped the ball.
Could it be because one always assumes that these kind of abuses happen in poorer countries, not in the world's richest?
There may be an element of that. I think on the whole, from this report, we see a range of damning statistics. In the Greater Manchester area, over the last 6 years, there have been reported 13,000 major sexual offences against young people under 16, resulting in only 1,000 convictions. Now, that is an appallingly failing rate of conviction. It shows that for many, many vulnerable victims, they have not got justice. And the police, the Crown Prosecution Service, and the Home Office really have serious questions to answer. And they can't just sweep this under the carpet, as has happened in so many instances before. They have to account for their failure to prosecute the perpetrators, and in particular, to listen to the victims. Because one of the things that comes out of Anne Coffey's report is that many of the victims reported the abuse to the police, and they were not taken seriously. They were treated like they were children whose voices did not count. And I think we have to always say that in cases of child abuse, we must always listen to the victims, and we must always ensure that they are given support and help, and that their claims are thoroughly investigated, and that there's no grounds whatsoever for a light touch. If there is doubt, err on the side of the victim.
Well, Peter, we're also asking our audience this evening for them to comment on this story. Their comments are appearing on the bottom of our screen. Do you think that this report, that the attention that's been given to these cases, will this change the situation, especially for those victims that you've spoken about? Is this going to make a difference?
Well, the revelations about what's been happening in Greater Manchester follow on similar revelations about Rotherham, Bradford, Oxford and other towns and cities. So this is not isolated. It's not just a Manchester issue. It's an issue for the whole country. And I think the question we now have to answer is, what do we do about it? One of the saddest things of all is the failure of the Education Secretary to ensure that sex and relationship education is mandatory in every school, and that young people are taught about consent. What does consent mean? What does consent involve? And in particular, we need to empower young girls to have the confidence to say no to unwanted sexual advances and to report abusers. We also need to challenge the macho attitudes of some young boys who think that girls are there for their pleasure and that they can do what they like. Those macho attitudes have to be challenged, because if we do that, I think we can help change the culture. So we have to change the attitudes and values of both young boys and young girls to ensure that reporting of abuse is increased, that action by the police and the Crown Prosecution Service is escalated, and that young boys in the first place come to realise that they can't treat young girls as sex objects, that sex before the age of consent of 16 is unlawful, and that even when they get consent that's based on drugs and alcohol, when someone is not full control of their faculties, that is not genuine consent. Now, that is the responsibility of parents, but also the education system. And the Education Secretary is failing because she is not insisting that all schools teach these issues to young people. Education is the key.
Right, Peter Tatchell, human rights activist, with us from London tonight. Thanks so much.